So in our previous session, we talked about how to perform prostrations. Now, there is another thing to keep in mind. In the sutras of the Buddha, repeatedly, there is a reference of the act of prostration and the meaning of prostration. And therefore, prostration is referred to as having in terms of the nature of prostration, it is described as offering respect and service through the three doors of activities. So this indicates that we have physical prostration, first one, and physical prostration, we mentioned we have different lengths of prostration. So you could be engaging in the prostration where 5 limbs of the body touch the ground, or you might be doing the full prostration where you stretch your full body to the ground, or the third type of prostration where with your hands you touch the feet of the person you venerate. Then we have the second one, which is verbal prostration. Verbal prostration is motivated through faith. You exalt and you proclaim the qualities of the object you venerate. And thirdly, we have mental prostration, which is done through having faith in your mind. Awesome. Okay, so we mentioned physical prostration. We mentioned that we have different lengths of prostrations. In the first one, where it is referred to as the short prostration, we have 5 parts of the body that must necessarily touch the ground. And these 5 parts are the forehead, the palms of your 2 hands, and your 2 knees. So make sure you're not cheating in terms of the prostration. As we say, all 5 points have to touch the ground. Okay, the second one is the full length prostration. In the full length prostration, when you stretch your body down, your forehead and your knees will touch the ground, and of course, other parts of the body as well. So the way that we start by making the prostration is, first of all, putting the hands together, and we have explained the particular way, and touch either 3 or 4 parts of the body. This is before lowering our body to the ground, right? So if we touch 3 points, it will be the forehead, and then the throat, and then the heart. The way that we put the hands together is by first bending the thumbs and tucking them inside the palms of the hands, so that when you actually look at this shape from outside, it looks like a jewel. It has special significance because the jewel symbolizes the method, and the empty cavity inside symbolizes the wisdom, and therefore it symbolizes putting the hands together in this way symbolizes the union of method and wisdom. So when you put your hands together in this way, and first of all you touch the forehead, then the throat, then the heart. Then this can signify purifying negativities of your body, of your speech and your mind, and also it signifies that you are placing imprints to obtain the 3 bodies of the Buddha. We also have the variation where we might touch 4 parts of the body, and if you're touching 4 parts of the body, you begin with the crown, and then the area here between the eyebrows, and then the throat, and then the heart. When we bring the hands at the crown, this places the imprints to establish the crown protrusion of the Buddha. When we bring the hands between here, the place between the 2 eyebrows, it is receiving the imprints to obtain the emanation body. When we place them at the throat, we place the imprint to obtain the speech of the Buddha, which is actually the most important thing to obtain, because it is through the activity of the speech that the Buddha affects the welfare of sentient beings in the most meaningful way. And finally, when we touch the heart of the Buddha, we place the imprints to obtain the mind of the Buddha. We mentioned in our earlier session also that it is very important that when you do the prostrations, your body has a straight posture, right? So do not remain bent or, or do not, or avoid fully stretching your hands, your feet, your body. It has to be fully stretched and erect. And when the starting position is a straight, erect position, and also when you finish the prostration, you should come up into this straight posture. And of course, if you are old or if you are feeling unwell, it might not be possible to perform prostrations in this way. And actually, there is exception because you're not expected to perform prostrations in this way. In cases like this, if you cannot physically, put your body to the ground, if you're motivated by faith, if you rise, let's say, from your seat, if you can, it's enough to put the palm of the hands together. The hands together in that mudra is the most crucial point. And then try to lower a little bit, perhaps your head, if you can, just to indicate respect. So this is sufficient. This is enough. Okay, so up to here, we have been revising in brief material that we covered in our previous session. So today, let's begin by explaining, let's say, the visualization that we need to establish in the space in front of us. In general, we perform prostrations with different objects for different reasons. So, for example, you could be performing prostrations in relation to refuge, or you could be prostrating in front of the tanka of a deity or another, an object, a deity towards which you have special faith. So there are many different contexts in which we perform prostration. However, here in particular, for the practice of prostrating to the 35 confessional Buddhas, we established the following visualization in the space in front of us. So imagine that at the level of your eyes. So imagine that you have risen from your seat and see what would be about where the level of your eyes would be. And that would indicate the height or the position of the visualization. And you place the visualization in a distance that is slightly longer than the length of your body. So imagine that you did a full prostration. So just place it just a little bit further from where your hands would reach if you did a full-length prostration. Okay. So in that location, first of all, we have to establish the throne for the 35 Buddhas. When we establish the throne, let's say for our teacher, Buddha Shakyamuni, this throne is supported by 8 great lions. However, here, for the confession to the 35 Buddhas, the throne is supported by elephants. And this is auspicious interdependence because the elephants are renowned for the great power and strength, and we want to achieve very strong purification, and therefore we want to have that interdependence. Okay, so in terms of the visualization, as we mentioned before, you can see there is a tanka, and we also have the notes that come from J. Rinpoche's direct vision, where he has recorded the aspect of the 35 Buddhas that he saw, he encountered in terms of their hand implements, the body color, the sitting postures, and so forth. But we mentioned that there is a way of simplifying, making the visualization easier by dividing the 35 Buddhas into 5 groups of 7, and each group corresponds with one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So we would have 7, 7, 7, 7, and we want to look what happens at the first group of 7. In the first group of 7, So the top one, the beginning, is the one that begins with Buddha Shakyamuni. So in this group, we actually arrange the 7 Buddhas in a particular formation. We take Shakyamuni Buddha and we have him center and top ahead of the others, and the other 6 are in line below Buddha Shakyamuni. This first group should have the aspect conforming to Buddha Akshobhya. But of course, we notice that we have 2 exceptions in the group. First of all, Buddha Shakyamuni is golden in color. And the fourth, the king ruling the Nagas, from the neck up has a white head, but from the neck down, it has a dark blue body that confirms to the body of Buddha Akshobhya. Okay, then after this, the second row is 7 Buddhas in line in the aspect of Buddha Vairochana, so they are white. Then after that, we have 7 yellow Buddhas in the aspect of Ratnasambhava. Following that, we have 7 red Buddhas in the aspect of Amitabha. And then finally, we have 7 green Buddhas in the aspect of Amoghasiddhi. Okay, so now when you begin doing the practice, one way to start your practice is to only visualize the particular Buddha towards which you want to prostrate. So not necessarily prostrating to all 35 Buddhas. So let's say today you want to offer 3 or 7 prostrations to Buddha Shakyamuni. So begin by only visualizing Buddha Shakyamuni, forget the other Buddhas, and offer 3 prostrations. And when you offer the 3 or 7, however many prostrations, then recite the remainder of the sutra. Then when you finish doing this, you can move to the second Buddha, the Tathagata thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence. Just visualize this Tathagata, offer your prostrations, recite the sutra, and so forth. Also, when you prostrate, do not just visualize, do not just think that you are alone, you're the only person verbalizing and prostrating. Imagine that all the bodies you have taken through your countless rebirths in cyclic existence are with you in this occasion. They all have the same aspect as the current aspect that you have in this life. So in effect, it is as if you have made replicas of your current self. However, these replicas represent all your previous lives, the bodies of your previous lives. And all of you together in perfect sync, you are reciting the text and you are making the prostrations. And it says if you do it like this, because you have more bodies prostrating, then the amount of virtue that you accumulate is also more. It multiplies. Now, this might sound a very daunting practice. Like, not only do I have all these Buddhas to visualize, I also have to visualize multiples of myself. This is a complex visualization, right? So do not make things difficult for yourself. In the beginning, make it easy. So just visualize one Buddha and just become familiar with this. And the more you become familiar with this, the more you start multiplying also your bodies. And when you are comfortable with this, start adding additional Buddhas to the visualization. Now, if you try to do this practice, let's say for 10 minutes, and set for yourself the standard and say, for these 10 minutes, I will not be distracted. I will keep my mind strictly on the practice. You will find out that you cannot do it. It's actually very difficult, both mentally and physically, to remain focused on this practice, and even for 10 minutes. And the reason for this is because since beginningless time, and even since the beginning of this life up until now, we have developed great familiarity with allowing the mind to go into the negative side. So naturally, the mind is habituated to go towards the negative. No one needs to school us or teach us how to think about negative things. The mind naturally goes there. So do not be very strict with yourself, because if you're very strict with yourself, you will be very disappointed. And you will think, oh, I can't visualize this, I can't do the practice, I'm not a good practitioner, and so forth, which is not the good thing to do. Important thing is have faith in your mind and be satisfied. Or, okay, even though my visualization is inaccurate or blurry or whatever, faulty, and that's the best I can do now, and I just want to begin with and go on with the practice. So we have explained what to visualize and how to think when you're making prostrations. The next thing to discuss is the benefits of prostrations. And many sutras and commentaries actually mention the benefits of prostrations. Rinpoche would like to bring up a quotation. It's a quotation that we find in Master Shantideva's Compendium of Training. So in Compendium of Training, Master Shantideva actually draws from a variety of texts. Many of them are like the Uma, the middle way texts, and many other texts. So Rinpoche says, I have not seen the original source of this quotation, but it is mentioned in the Compendium of Training. And it says there that when we offer one single prostration, whatever is the number of the particles of earth that your body covers during that prostration, you accumulate merit to be reborn as a universal monarch with control over the universe, over the world, that many times, as many as the atoms of the ground that you cover. So when you hear that, of course, the question arises, like we see a lot of people prostrating, so there should be a lot of people who have created many times the merit to be reborn as universal monarchs, but we don't see many universal monarchs. So why do we have this discrepancy? And the answer to that is because anger and pride and so forth destroy the amount of merit we create. One of the main benefits of prostrations is that it becomes antidote to pride. People who have great pride will find that by engaging in prostrations, their pride is reduced. When we have strong pride about our qualities, whether it is because of Dharma qualities, Dharma knowledge, or worldly knowledge, and we remain upright, no qualities can actually increase. But if we lower our pride, the analogy that is given is like when you have a cavity in the ground. And if you have a cavity in the ground, naturally the water will gather there. So this is how, if you lower your pride, naturally your qualities will gather and increase. So we mentioned pride here, and the other thing that we need to discuss is anger. Anger destroys the root of virtue. Anger destroys a lot of our accumulation. In Bodhisattva's ways of life, there is a verse that says that becoming angry once destroys the accumulation or the virtue that you accumulate through practicing generosity, ethics, and so forth over 1,000 eons. So this actually indicates that even one moment of anger can have such incredible power to destroy so much virtue. Of course, there is the interpretation of the verse that this comment is made with respect to a particular object of anger. So if the object of your anger is a bodhisattva, because this is a powerful object, the negativity will also be so powerful. However, what we need to consider is this destroying force of anger. Another element that can destroy our virtue and not allow us to develop qualities is not having faith in the law of cause and effect. When it comes to the law of cause and effect, of course, we might have our doubts, but if we have an honest attitude and say, I will examine it, I will investigate it with an open, neutral mind, then we can investigate and really come to understand the law of cause and effect. But if we're biased from the beginning, and if we have this attitude that says, no, I don't believe it, the law of cause and effect is of no consequence, it's not true, and so forth, and you dismiss it already from the beginning. Again, this is a type of fault, a wrong type of attitude that does not allow you to develop qualities. It destroys your merit, your virtue. Another great pitfall and great danger that we have when we practice Dharma is that our Dharma activity is actually motivated through pride or competition with others. So let's say you're prostrating and you see someone who has done 3 prostrations and you say, oh, I will do better. I will do 5 prostrations if they're doing 3. Now, doing the practice in this way does not benefit you, and also because you're doing it out of pride, out of antagonizing another practitioner, it accumulates a fault, it accumulates negativity. If you really want to accumulate virtue and benefit, you should rejoice in the practice of others. And many times it is stated in the text that if you want to easily and quickly accumulate great amount of virtue, then you just rejoice in the activities of others. So Rinpoche was saying we have, of course, talked about the benefits of performing prostrations, and we have a presentation of the benefits like the power of purification that you obtain by reciting or prostrating, by saying the name of each one of the Tathagatas. We have talked about the 4 opponent powers. They're all components of engaging in the confession of negativities through prostrations. But all of those points, they are based on a proper understanding of the law of cause and effect. If you do not have that understanding of the law of cause and effect, this actually undermines the whole practice. Because, for example, when we say such and such benefit is derived by doing prostrations or by doing this practice, if you don't believe in the law of cause and effect, this actually will not be established for you. Also, in terms of the 4 opponent powers, we talked about the power of the basis, and then we talked about the power of repudiation. The power of repudiation is let's say, is the way of thinking that makes you regret a negative action because you understand in what way it is negative and what will be the consequences of such negativity. And if you don't properly if you don't believe in the law of cause and effect, you will not regret the action. If you do not regret the action, then you will not generate the next of the 4 opponent powers, which is the promise to restrain from such activity in the future. Therefore, an understanding of the law of cause and effect is crucial here, and each one of you, according to your capacity, you should try to develop an understanding of that. And for that reason, Rinpoche would like to give a short presentation. So in terms of understanding the law of cause and effect, of course, we can have an initial, let's say, coarse understanding, and then there is understanding at a completely different level, which is very deep with full detail. This second level of detailed understanding of all the intricacies of the law of cause and effect is very difficult to generate. They say it is more difficult to generate that realization than it is to have the realization of emptiness. So, for example, hearers and solitary arhats have direct realization of emptiness, but it is only the Buddha who has the full realization of all the details of the law of cause and effect. So it is something very difficult to understand in great depth and detail. And in our case, since we do not have the opportunity to study the law of cause and effect in great detail, the best approach is to generate the initial course level of understanding and then proceed with faith on this subject. So we talk about the law of cause and effect. So cause here refers to the activity that you do, and the effect is the result that will come from this activity. In brief, there are two types of activities. They are virtuous and non-virtuous activities. And the results that come from virtuous activities are happiness or happy results. And the results that come from non-virtuous activity are suffering. It just boils down just to that thing. If you do good things, you will have good experiences. And if you do bad things, you will have bad experiences. Now, of course, when we talk about the results of certain actions, always there is the question like what type of result and when will this result be experienced? Some results we experience in this life, but there are other results that we will experience in our next life or after a number of future lifetimes. And therefore, you see, in order to understand and accept the law of cause and effect, you have to accept the existence of past and future lives. Okay, of course, there are many logical arguments that can establish the existence of past lives and future lives. However, in these days, right, the best way to approach this is through coming in contact and reading the stories of certain individuals who remember their past lives. There are many kids who remember their past lives and they talk about their past lives. And these events have been documented. They have been certified. They're not just making up stories, right? So there are documentaries and there are many books that present stories like this. It will be very good to read those because those actually establish the existence of past lives. If you can remember it, then that thing occurred, then that thing exists. And there is no reason to think that, okay, it only exists for this kid because this kid remembers it. I didn't have past lives because I can't remember it. Not remembering is not a proof that does not exist. It didn't happen. So, for example, many things happened yesterday at work which you don't remember today. It doesn't mean that these things didn't happen just because you don't remember them. The actually remembering is a proof that it exists. So it's very important to have the foundation of believing in past and future lives. And then on top of that, accept the law of cause and effect. In terms of the law of cause and effect, we have to understand that the activities we do will bring about results that will influence not just this one life, but also they can influence us in a good way or a bad way in many lifetimes to come. In the teachings of the Buddha and subsequently in the Lamrim, we have a very concise, very clear presentation of the four aspects of karma. The first one is that karma is definite, meaning there is no mixing of the results with inappropriate causes. Certain causes will bring very clear results. The second one is that karma increases, meaning that even something that appears to be an insignificant, very small action will bring about very big results. The third one is you do not meet with karma you have not, with the results of karma you have not done. So if you didn't do the action, you will not meet with the result. And the fourth one is karma you have done does not go to waste. Meaning if you did something, that karma there remains for you. And the result is waiting to affect you. Even if this continent, like if the earth were destroyed, this karma is remaining there, waiting to be experienced as the result. Yeah, that's all. For the first one, we say that karma is certain. And what that means is that from virtuous activities, happiness will come as a result. And from non-virtuous activities, it is certain that the result will be suffering. We can give a story here that illustrates this. Is a story that comes into a collection of proclamations. So different people would ask Buddha Shakyamuni, for example, what is the reason that this or that is happening? So there were many questions that were asked about a particular monk who was called Nyempa Sangden. So Nyempa Sangden had a very ugly face, but a very melodious voice. So a lot of people noticed this. It was kind of quite surprising. And they asked the Buddha to please explain what is the cause that this monk has such an unfortunate appearance. And the Buddha said, in the past, during the time of Buddha Kasyapa, the king decided to erect a very big stupa. And at that time, the monk we are discussing happened to be among the workers who were working on this project. Now, that obviously was a very big project, very large project. And today, when a worker gets, let's say, a job in a big project, they have every reason to rejoice because they're thinking, okay, there's a lot of work. I will have work for many months, many years. This is stable employment. People would rejoice. But back then, it wasn't necessarily a cause to rejoice for the workers because this was something that was imposed upon them by the king. It was a form of taxation. It's like you have to work on this project. So seeing the scale of the project, that person back then said, oh, this is such a big project. Why does it have to be such a big project? It will never be finished within a lifetime. So it was a concealed way of expressing his disapproval. And as a result, the result of this, because that was criticism for the project, was that later on he came back as a monk with a very ugly face. Okay, so it happened that the stupa project was completed, and upon the completion, all the people of the land rejoiced, and like they had an opening ceremony. It was they were great festivities to inaugurate the stupa, and everyone participated. And that very worker, when he saw the stupa completed, he generated regret. So what is it that he regretted? He regretted the criticism, that comment that he made at the beginning, say, you'll never finish it in one lifetime. And also, he was rejoicing of this project, and he offered a bell to the stupa. And the result of offering the bell to the stupa was that later on, when he was born at the time of Buddha Shakyamuni, he had a very melodious voice. So now we really have to examine the case of this monk at the time of the Buddha, because many people would argue that actually this person had a lot of merit. And indeed, it would take a lot of merit to be reborn and have the fortune to be a monk at the time of the Buddha. So definitely this person had a lot of merit, but that merit resulted in rebirth as a monk at the time of the Buddha. However, he also had that negative karma of criticizing the Stupa project. And that specific negative remaining karma also brought about its result, which was that his face was very unpleasant. So the second principle we want to discuss is that karma increases. And what that means is that out of one single action, which might be a small action, insignificant action, we will end up with a result that is very large, very significant, and also with multiple of results, like many results. We can look at it through the external example. Imagine that you have a seed and you plant that seed, just one single seed, and from that you grow a mighty tree. And when that tree reaches maturity, every year it will bear many fruits, like hundreds of fruits on its branches. So you see, just from one seed, you end up getting many fruit and leaves and branches and all of that. So there is a multiplication. But again, within each one of the fruit that is produced, there is a seed. And then that seed, if planted, can again bring about a new tree that will bear hundreds of subsequent fruit. So you can see there is this, externally, we can see this aspect of increase. And if we bring that internally in our mind, the aspect of increase is even more intense, because since it is mental internally, there is it's not material, and there is nothing that will restrict us materially, physically. So mentally, it can increase and multiply much more. So we have to be very careful with actions, virtuous and non-virtuous actions. Even if they seem to be small and insignificant, they can bring about very big and very heavy results. And this actually makes us think that we should make the effort to establish even the smallest virtuous action, and we should make the effort to abandon even the most insignificant negativity. In the proclamations of the Buddha, there is this verse that describes how a big pot is filled drop by drop through little drops of water that fall inside. The third element is the aspect of not meeting with karma you have not created. So if you have not engaged in a particular action, it is impossible that you will experience the result of this action. And we see that expressed when, let's say, there is a calamity in a country, let's say there is an earthquake, let's say there is a big flood, or there is an aeroplane that falls from the sky. And then you hear those unbelievable stories of survival of specific individuals. So let's say the aeroplane falls from the sky, everybody dies except one or two people. Why? Why did these two people survive? Because they had not created the karma to die in an aeroplane crash. The last point, excuse me, is that karma you have created does not go to waste. So imagine that you have a packet of seeds and you plant some of them this year, and then you say, oh, I will leave the rest. I put them in this container and perhaps I can use them next year. But then in the course of the year, those seeds deteriorate, they get moldy, and they're of no use. They will not grow anything. Karma actually is not like this. If you create karma, then that karma remains there and it will not fade It will not go away until you experience it. It will remain for thousands of eons. Okay, so since the karma is so stable, then of course at some point we become very worried, because even if we think we have not created much negativity in this life, going back in our countless lifetimes, we must have created a lot of negativity. And that negative karma does not go to waste. The potential of that karma is deposited in our mind stream. So now we are worried, it doesn't go to waste. I have created so much. Is there anything I can do? And the answer to that, yes, there is a method that we can purify or remove it. And the best method is to engage in confession and purification through relying on the four opponent powers. Okay, so we say that confession, through relying on the four opponent powers, has the power to destroy our negativity, our negative actions. And we mentioned that in terms of the four opponent powers, we have 6 different methods that can become antidotes. But it is very important that we have the complete set of the four opponent powers. People often ask the question, and if I do this practice or if I engage in this attitude, will it really purify everything? And in this, we have to say that it depends. It depends on how much faith you have in the four opponent powers. It depends on the quality of each one of the four opponent powers that you employ. So, for example, in some cases, it might just scrape the surface. In other cases, it might actually completely destroy negativity. In other cases, it might lessen the negativity. But we should keep in mind the benefit of virtue of this practice, and always keep in mind that we have natural tendency to generate anger, to have pride towards others, and also have the wrong views that do not believe in the law of cause and effect and so forth. And those things really hinder us in establishing virtue. Okay, so from now on, Rinpoche would like to refer to the chart that we have. It is a chart that gives us a list of the names of the Tathagatas, their physical appearance, and also the benefits. So in terms of where this information comes from, when Lama Tsongkhapa had direct visions of the 35 Buddhas, obviously he could see their aspect and so forth. And at that time, they were working on establishing the monastery, and the artist who wanted to paint the 35 Buddhas on the walls of the monastery asked Lama Tsongkhapa what is the aspect of each one of the 35 Buddhas. And at that time, Lama Tsongkhapa explained, this Buddha is like this, that Buddha is like this. And they did the drawings and the colors and so forth according to Lama Tsongkhapa's instructions. Later on, these instructions were included in the Sumbum, in the collected works of Lama Tsongkhapa, in a text that is called, it's called like the generation stage, or you could say the visualizations of the 35 Buddhas. Okay, then in this chart, you will see in the line, in the block where we have the benefits, where it says, this Tathagata purifies this negativity or negativity over so many years and so forth. Again, it comes from a very particular source. We have a text that is called The Ritual of Confession of Negativity. Okay, of negativities and downfalls. And this particular text is an exceptional text. It was composed by Seraje Lobakanzen Kyabche Choden Rinpoche. So it must have been due to Rinpoche's special aspiration and special prayers the fact that this text became the text, the most prevailing text that everybody was reciting. At that time, when the text was composed, in Tibet, there was great destruction of monasteries and statues and holy objects. And it became a standard practice that everybody was reciting in order to overcome negativity related to this, to that, to the other. So everybody, irrespective of the monastery, Gaden, Sera, Dro-Phen, other monasteries, everybody was reciting that text. So it's a very powerful text. It is very powerful in the sense that it is universally relied upon by all monasteries inside and outside Tibet. So Rinpoche wanted again to stress one particular point. In terms of the physical aspect of the 35 Buddhas, we said that after meeting the 35 Buddhas, Rinpoche gave a detailed description of the individual aspect of each one of the Buddhas. But previously, we also referred to that method that makes the practice much easier if you group the 35 Buddhas into 5 groups of 7 that correspond to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So Rinpoche was saying, I don't want you to be thinking that this easy way to practice according to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas is not a vision of Rinpoche, and only the individual aspect of 35 Buddhas is the vision of Rinpoche, because even the second method is a vision of Rinpoche and is an instruction that Rinpoche had given. We have a special text that mention the visions or the experiences of Rinpoche, and both of these visualizations are present there. So they are both visions of Rinpoche. Okay, so because we have organized the material in this chart, we can go quickly through it. Okay, the first one is the glorious conqueror Shakyamuni. The color is golden color, and the aspect of the hands is okay. So here we have only mentioned the mudra of the right hand, which is the earth touching mudra. So the earth touching mudra is with the hand touching, let's say, the seat. It touches down to your seat, and the left hand is in the mudra of equipoise. Many Buddhas in the list have this particular mudra, similar to Buddha Shakyamuni. It purifies negativities and downfalls of 10,000 eons. We continue with the second one, the Tathagata thoroughly destroying with Vajra essence. He's yellow, and both of his hands are in the mudra of expounding Dharma. Rinpoche is showing this because usually the mudra of expounding Dharma, like if you see at Rinpoche, he has a different mudra. But here with the 35 Buddhas, when it is the mudra of expounding Dharma, it's like this completely symmetrical mudra. It purifies negativities and downfalls of 10,000 eons. The third one is the Tathagata radiant jewel. It is red in color, and 2 hands are in the mudra of meditative equipoise, like Buddha Amitabha. He purifies negativity over 31 eons. The fourth one is the king ruling the Nagas. We have explained the color, white face and dark blue body below the neck, and his hands in the Naga taming mudra. Rinpoche demonstrated that mudra a couple of times in our previous sessions, and it purifies negativities and downfalls of 8 eons. Number 5, the Tathagata army of heroes. He's yellow. Okay, so it says here, the right hand is extended in the mudra of giving refuge. So that is a little bit unusual, or it's a variation, because the hand is extended while giving refuge, and the left hand is at the heart in the mudra of expounding the Dharma. Okay, it purifies negativity of idle speech. Idle speech is when we talk nonsense, not important, just like chatting without meaningless chatting. All right, gossiping, chatting. Okay. Okay, so we see that number 5, the Tathagata army of heroes purifies negativity of idle speech. We know idle speech because it is included in the list of the 10 non-virtuous actions within the 4 negative actions of the speech. So pay attention because we will have mention of the remaining non-virtuous actions being purified here. The next one, number 6, glorious delight. The Tathagata glorious delight is yellow with 2 hands in the mudra expounding the Dharma and purifies negativities and downfalls of the mind. So we know we have 3 non-virtuous activities of the mind. So covetousness, harmful intention, and wrong views. The next one, the Tathagata jewel of fire, he's red, right hand in the mudra of touching the earth, the left hand in the mudra of meditative equipoise, and purifies negativities and downfalls related to activities concerning possessions of the Sangha. So here, when the faithful make offerings to the Sangha in terms of wealth, money, or other materials that are to be used and consumed by the Sangha, we have to be very careful how this material is consumed. It should always be consumed in a proper manner, not carelessly and inappropriately. Okay, thank you. We will stop here for today. Number 7.